Okay, we were looking at biscuits and the time ran out, and now we're back to biscuits. This is one of the wise men for the nativity scene that goes in the grotto, made by Oka in the next picture. That's Oka. He's making a rebar armature. And the one in the previous picture is not finished yet. It'd be much more detailed when he's done and painted. This is showing the strings crossing where the ditches make a 36-degree turn. Another view of strings crossing some other joint, probably. This is using the transit to sight the center of the ditch to get the string on its 36 degrees so that the ditch is in the right direction. I have an idea what this bamboo is sticking up out of the ground out here. No clue. So somebody stuck it in the ground. These ditches were all set by setting the transit on grade. Shoot it level, measure the distance out, come down 1/4 inch to a foot, put a new mark, and then you tilt the transit tube with a crank screw on the side until it is the crosshairs is on the new mark, and then you measure down to the top of your pipe. Anywhere along that is on the right grade. Another intersection change there. Kind of looks like me standing in the middle of the wetlands for some reason. Probably wasn't taking that picture. And it shows you the spacing between the vertical rebars. And that the door jambs have jams in it when they come right out of the forms. Nothing else to do except put the hinges on it. He's holding a string for somebody to cross there. They're trying to measure something. And this bunch of weeds was my tomato plants. The weeds grew, the tomatoes didn't. He's got a piece of orange pipe, so I guess he's wrapping a string up or unwrapping a string. This is the other brother, Nane. Looks to me like they've got a screw gun up here and they're doing something. He's probably going for a different size bit. Somebody says, stop them and say, hey, we're going to take a picture. Take another picture. Oh. That's showing about how much rebar is the minimum in a one of these short walls. There'd be some more added to that, one round on the top and some other stuff. But that's in progress. I think that's noteworthy thing is our blue rope here. That's what we pull stuff up and down those ramps on the stairs. This is a sawhorse. It has more patches than sawhorse. When it was 3 weeks old, and termites had ate it. We started patching on it. We've been patching on them ever since. Whatever kind of wood that was, it wasn't the so-called good wood. It was termite food. It won't hold screw threads. And nails don't work on it. It's like sawdust when you try to put a screw in it, but you try to drive a nail in it, it's like beating them into concrete. Had to pre-drill holes for nails, that didn't work. So it was put together with carriage bolts. Bolts cost more than the wood. Should have just thrown it away. I don't know. Looking at something. Okay, this is Lena and the boss. When we're not there, she takes care of payroll, and when we are there, she does going around checking prices on materials and stuff. That's a cousin, actual cousin. You know, only one generation sideways. And Brian has figured out that there's somebody taking a picture of Gloria, the boss. her oldest son. And Brian will try to photobomb. A mixer off the donut roof. In one of the videos, I detailed the fact that these tires need to be leaky, so they leak down and they're not pumped up. Otherwise, the bearings break and the axle spud breaks out of the tube that mounts it. And the leaf springs are welded to the frame and to the axle with no shackle, so there's no give in it. So when the mixer runs, it beats it to death. But if you have a half flat tires, it doesn't break all that stuff. Florence paints these lines on the floor and the Sharpie marks where the rebars go. And you put your notch boards, long notch boards, and short notch boards this other way. And that lets you lay out a wall, all the rebar. The circular window, there's a line there that you keep where the rebar's in. Put all your full length ones in, and then you have another notch board across here to locate this end of the ones that are cut. So you just take the rebars here and cut them two at a time, one for the left and one for the right, and butt them up against that line. And then you tie it. And she did all the walls for the first level in 2.5 days, and a little over a day for the walls up on this level. And this is her plants up here because the goats are eating them down below. Of course, up here the sun's cooking them, so didn't work there either. That's Florence, who paints the walls on the lines on the floor for different things. Paints rebar. Florence poured the concrete in the 20 columns down below, standing on a platform. The one that the eagle was living in, that was her platform. And she was the last one in the bucket brigade. She poured those 20 columns. That's a lot of concrete. And I don't know if she's coming in the window or going out the window, but they don't ever seem to want to use the door. I guess they're just taking a picture. And this is showing how many rebars down here are coming out of this stairwell piece that tie into the floor, and how congested they really are. But the staircase is sitting on formwork right now, because you can still see some plywood here. So it's supported off of the bottom floor. But that formwork has to come off, and at that point it'll be hung from the top. So, and he's got a chisel that goes in the hammer drill. And he'll combine carve all this to shape, and then put a little render where it needs it and skim coat it. And there's videos on that. Well, we were doing walk around videos, and every time we walked through the room, we took a look at the stairwell to see what the progress was. This is those rectangular things, a diagonal brace. They bolt onto the side of a wall form right here. And it gives you a platform to work on when you're pouring the wall and you haven't got the floor upstairs yet to stand on. You got, just nothing up there but daylight. And we still have those. We use them still. Same thing. How come this is going backwards? No, it's not going backwards. This is where they pulled off the safety thing and the sign that says "Do not use these stairs" in Tagalog. Stairs are right there, They end up closer together at the bottom than they are here up on this level. You can see that they've got these rebars drilled into the wall and sprung into place. They're getting ready to pour a partition between here and there. This is the last wedge of the donut roof. Obviously, until we did these stairs, we couldn't pour this floor. So they went right on to knocking out these other walls. It takes, I'd say 3 days. You have a day to put the rebar up. Of course, our rebars are all pre-tired. We lean them up, and 45 minutes the rebar's done. But then you put the forms on either side with the pipes. You stand up one side of the forms. You put the threaded rods through the through holes that are going to connect the other side. Slide the orange pipes on. Tilt the other ones up. Put a nut on either side. And then you put the bolts between the one panel to the next. That takes all day. But at that point you need Boyette and Boy filled in these ends over here with plastic bags, concrete bags, and later on we went to this spray foam so they wouldn't leak on the edges, and that takes all afternoon. But during that time they're carrying up the bags of cement or sand and gravel rather, and filling the water barrel. So day 3 they pour it. Day 4 we don't do anything. Just let it sit in the forms. Day 5 the forms come down. But during day 4, when it's sitting in the forms, they filled up the gravel and sand bags down below, ready to bring up, and moved the water barrels over and filled them up. Got the rebars set. So when that next day comes, they're right back to tilting forms up. You don't get 2 pours or 2 walls to the week. There's some times where you have a pour on Saturday and you had a pour on Monday that same week. So it's about the same number of days apart, but you don't necessarily get 2 pours every week. But you do get whatever length wall that you were pouring, and the wall is the bottom tie beam, the top tie beam, the columns in it, and the window opening with the jamb in it, or a door, or a vent. All that stuff is in it when the forms comes off. So it goes right along. But you always stop to do other things. It's got nothing to do with the house. Somebody told them there's actual stairs to go down. They didn't have to tear that apart over there. This is showing the ventilation goes from the outside through the room, through a door, and right out through the same deal on the other side till you see another window, or no, actually a window most of the time, hardly ever a door on both sides. Only this one, I think, has a door on both sides. Because the pantry, there's no opposing door. 37-inch window and whatever. Well, they're going to try the stairs. There's a load test. This is what it looks like with 2 of the forms put together. This round hole is access to reach through to put the nut on the threaded rod or the bolt, whatever they use. Sometimes it's you have a long piece of threaded rod, need a bolt. Put a piece of plastic pipe over most of the threads in a washer. Saves you screwing those nuts down so far. And this will be the stairwell room with this. There's a lot of conduit in a house. I mean, you can see how many of them's coming up through there in just that one little place. And these are the ones that come out of the top of a well, you can't see them. See, there's a bunch of conduit coming out of the top of the electrical sub panel up here. But the bottom has got all these ones you see sticking on the floor here going into it. There's 10 of them on the bottom and usually 4 on the top. It's just everywhere. On down we go. Water barrels here for reserve. They're pouring the concrete up there, but they have a couple barrels that are not first line barrels. They're not the plastic ones, but they'll fill that with water in case they have a water shortage or something when they're working. And looks like a moringa tree has moved in already. This is that circular roof that's 40 feet across. It's got a light down below be in that airspace. They point towards the atrium, and these are to put concrete in to pour a finishing piece of concrete between this floor and the bottom floor, so that it's not just a square end. And that's to pour the concrete in so we can fill that little piece of form all the way up. We still haven't done those. These are weathered because they've been used about 3 times already. And this is showing that the rebar is done across the whole thing. And Boyette's using our float. And he'll come back later and with a hand trowel if he needs to. But you can see he puts a decent finish on every piece of concrete he pours. These guys are getting ready to put stuff in the mixer. This guy has helped him pick it up and get it on his shoulder. And he's turned around to walk already, and this guy hadn't got his arms down yet. And she's not talking because her arms aren't waving. Still not talking. Still not talking. You always need a load path that's straight. So the edge of this phenolic board's got this on the top supporting that. There's 2 layers of 1/4-inch plywood running around there. Makes you that edge. We don't make any real attempt to make a perfect curve because we're going to put a concrete molding around all these edges. But it has to end someplace, and that's just where it ends. But this load path supports the edge of that phenolic board. We're about 50%, so there are 25 bags into it. Or 28 bags, I guess it is, into it. Drinking water's on the roof over here. She's starting to get ready to talk. Nobody turned around looking, so she's not talking yet. You can see that we keep the mixer right next to what we're doing. Why would you want to carry a bunch of stuff all over the place when you can put the mixer wherever you're working? It's got wheels on it, you know. And you can see all the biscuits underneath the rebar here holding it up 3 bar diameters off of that plastic sheet. The plastic sheet keeps the phenolic board from getting stuck and keeps water off of the phenolic board so it doesn't delaminate. And these are the spokes of the spider beam. If we wanted to, we could stop a wall in the middle of any of them. Double picture. I think somebody just keeps pushing the button. She was pointing there, yelling at somebody. And you'll notice that they keep the site pretty clean. Between them and Fanny coming over once in a while and sweeping up when she needs some money. There's everybody in one place. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that's everybody. So we haven't got an abundance of people. They're all doing something. And you notice Aurora's still up there. They're pouring and she's watching. She'll go down and get something to drink, or maybe eat some snack foods or something like that, down to Baje Kubo. But in 45 minutes, she'll be right back up there with them. And you can tell again we pour the concrete kind of dry. Portland cement weight equals water weight. This is earlier. They haven't got to the halfway point yet. But the pictures are being showed in reverse, I think, of the way they were taken that day. Okay. And that's Jeanette and my wife. This is Amard's fiance. They're going to inherit this house someday. All right. That's the end of that video. Let's see if we can get it to pause.